This is the story of a simple farmer who falls deeply in love with a woman the entire town desires. She is so breathtaking that men willingly give up everything: their pride, their savings, their dignity, just for a single night with her, those fortunate enough to be chosen feelers. Though they have been handed the greatest gift in the world. One day, this ordinary farmer brings her home, and what unfolds between them will change both of their lives forever. Our story begins in the year 1850, in a small California town called Rockies. Here we meet Angel, a woman of extraordinary beauty, one whose presence can stop a man mid-step and leave him speechless. The men of this town have created a lottery of sorts, a waiting line of desperate souls all competing for even a brief moment alone with her. The winners walk away feeling as though fortune herself had smiled upon them. But Angel's life has not always looked this way. As we first lay eyes on her, she seems tired and trapped, carrying a weight far too heavy for someone so young. Her mind drifts back to simpler, warmer days, the days she spent with her mother. Now, those were days filled with laughter and love. Days when the world still felt safe. Then one afternoon, everything changed. Her father, Alex, came to visit. It was, in fact, the very first time he had ever bothered to show up. But rather than embrace his daughter, he asked Angel to step outside. The moment she left the room, he turned to gnaw with cold, cutting words. He told her plainly that he had never considered their relationship a real marriage, that he had never wanted the child, and that as far as he was concerned, Angel was illegitimate and had no place in his life. Angel heard every single word from just outside the door. She stood there frozen, tears streaming down her face, her small heart shattered by the cruelty of a man who was supposed to love her unconditionally. Now rushed out and pulled her close, whispering softly that none of it was Angel's fault, that she was loved, deeply and completely, no matter what. But the damage had already been done. A short while later, a letter arrived from Alex. In it, he coldly announced that he had cut all ties with them, sold the house from under their feet, and had no intention of ever seeing them again. Left with no place to go, now gathered what little they owned and walked out with Angel by her side. In a desperate attempt to secure money, now approached a jeweler named John, hoping to sell some of her jewelry. But John examined the pieces carefully and informed her they were worthless fakes. However, his eyes then settled on her herself, and with a calculating smile, he told her that she was far more valuable than any piece of jewelry. If she worked for him, he said, she would have both money and a roof over her head. With no other option available, Nora reluctantly agreed. John first took advantage of her in the cruelest way possible and then put her to work. But fate was not done being cruel. Before long, Nora fell gravely ill, and despite everything, she passed away, leaving Angel alone in a world that had shown her nothing but hardship. Angel wept bitterly, her grief immeasurable, but the world did not pause for her pain. Now, we shift to the present and step into the life of Michael, a hard-working, grounded young farmer who tends his land with quiet dedication. He is a man of faith, of steady principles, and of deep sincerity. Each morning he rises before the sun, and each day he spends at the church in genuine prayer. One particular evening, after a long day of work, Michael heads into the city to sell his harvest. It is there, in the middle of the busy streets, that he catches a glimpse of Angel stepping out for an evening stroll. He stops dead in his tracks. He has never seen anyone like her. Something stirs in his chest. Not just admiration for her beauty, but something far deeper. Something he cannot name just yet. Burning with curiosity, He asks a friend about her. The friend looks at him with a smirk and explains that Angel lives in a grand palace in the heart of the city, that she is the most sought-after woman in all of Rockies, and that men line up for just a chance to be near her. Michael feels an uncomfortable knot form in his stomach, but he does not walk away. He resolves that no matter what her story is, he wants to meet her. That same evening, as Angel's shift ends, a bodyguard sent by her boss, a formidable woman known as Duchess, arrives to collect Angel's earnings. He is unhappy with the amount and begins accusing her of hiding gold. Angel is not the kind of woman to stay quiet. She snaps back at him fiercely. This only enrages the guard further. A tense confrontation scene, a woman struggling near a bathtub. Dramatic lighting, cinematic style at that very moment. Duchess storms in and orders him to stop immediately. She reminds him coldly that if a single scratch appears on Angel's skin, the clients outside will not tolerate it. He is told to calm down and get Angel presentable for her next shift without delay. A man named Michael walking into a room, about to meet a woman named Angel for the first time. Warm cinematic lighting, she looks at him the way she looks at everyone who walks through the door and asks in a practiced, hollow tone how she can make him happy. Michael shakes his head and replies that he did not come for that. He simply wants to talk to her, to know her. He tells her he is a farmer, that he works the land with his own hands, and then, with disarming sincerity, he proposes marriage to her on the spot. Angel stares at him for a moment, and then lets out a short laugh. She tells him dryly that this is already the 5th proposal she has received this week. Men come in all the time with sweet words and grand promises. His time runs out, and she sends him away. But Michael comes back the very next day, paying double the price to see her again. He looks her directly in the eyes and tells her that he fell in love with her the moment he first saw her. He is not playing games. He wants her to come with him. He wants to marry her and build a life together. Angel does not even flinch. She tells him he is wasting both his money and his time. She reminds him that she can never truly belong to anyone, that this is her world, and he should come, take what he is here for, and leave. Once again his time expires, and the same bodyguard escorts him out. His friend pulls him aside afterward and urges him to let it go. Angel is simply not the right woman for him. But Michael, undeterred, decides to try one more time. That evening he returns. This time he does not make demands or repeat grand declarations. He speaks to her quietly, honestly. He tells her he cannot understand why she would want to stay in a life that seems so much like a prison. He asks her if she feels anything at all when he is near her, if there is even a flicker of something in her heart. Then he leans close and gently kisses her and asks whether she still feels nothing. Angel pulls back and replies with cool detachment. She does not love him. She does not want to marry him. And he is just an ordinary farmer. Michael leaves without another word, his heart quietly breaking. Here, the story travels back to Angel's childhood, to the dark days that followed her mother's death. After Nora passed away, the jeweler John took Angel to another city with the intention of selling her. A kind-hearted girl named Sally, who worked there, pleaded with John to take Angel somewhere else, insisting that this place was no environment for a child. John paid her no mind. He brought Angel before a man named Duke, a powerful and ruthless figure, and announced that he had brought the girl as agreed and demanded his payment. Duke responded by ordering his men to kill John on the spot without hesitation. Angel watched in absolute terror as this happened right before her eyes. Duke then turned to her and made himself perfectly clear. She now belonged to him and would work under his command. She had no choice. She had no one. As Angel grew up under Duke's roof, he put her to work in his trade. Over time, the fear inside her transformed into something harder, a cold, unwavering belief that every man in the world was cut from the same selfish, cruel cloth. Then one day, a client arrived at Duke's establishment. It was Alex, her own father, who had no idea who she was. When Angel recognized him, she revealed the truth to his face. The realization of what his abandonment had done to his own daughter shattered Alex completely. Unable to bear the weight of his guilt, he took his own life. In the chaos that followed, Sally quietly slipped Angel some money and helped her escape. But Duke discovered what had happened, and in his fury, he killed Sally. Meanwhile, Angel had already boarded a ship. Determined to reach a new city and a new life, on that ship she encountered a group of women who appeared warm and friendly during the journey. But the moment she arrived in Rockies, those same women turned on her. They beat her, stole her money, and left her unconscious and alone in an unfamiliar city. It was Duchess who found her, who pulled her off the ground, brought her to her palace, and gave her shelter. But charity rarely comes without a price before long. Duchess put Angel to work just as everyone before her had done. Returning to the present, we notice that Angel's health has begun to visibly decline. When her friend asks what is wrong, Angel confesses that she has not been able to stop thinking about Michael, and in that admission lies the truth. She has already made a quiet decision in her heart. She wants to leave this life behind. She had been saving her earnings faithfully, entrusting every coin to Duchess for safekeeping, so she goes to Duchess and asks for her savings back. Duchess looks at her with contempt and refuses outright. She says Angel has food, clothing, and a home here. What more could she possibly want outside these walls? But Angel stands firm and demands what is rightfully hers. Duchess erupts in fury and screams that she will give her nothing. She calls for her bodyguard and orders him to teach Angel a lesson. He drags her outside and beats her savagely, leaving her broken and barely able to move. That very night, Michael jolts awake from a vivid and unsettling dream, a vision that something terrible is happening to Angel. He cannot shake it. At the first light of morning, he races to the palace and finds Angel in a condition that turns his stomach. Rage floods through him. He confronts Duchess directly and declares that he is taking Angel away. Right now, this very moment, Duchess responds with icy calm that Angel has outstanding debts, and until those are cleared, she is not going anywhere, without a moment's hesitation. Michael counts out 3 times the amount owed and hands it over. He then kneels before Angel, takes his mother's ring from his pocket, and asks her to marry him. Overwhelmed and barely holding herself together, Angel softly whispers yes. Michael brings her back to his farm. But she is still in very poor shape from the beating. She looks at him and says quietly that he spent so much money on her. He smiles and tells her the money is the last thing on his mind. Getting her out of that place was all that mattered. Angel slowly places the ring back in his hand. She tells him that once she has recovered, she will repay every coin he spent, and then she will leave. She refuses to enter a marriage that feels like another form of captivity. Michael laughs softly and tells her that marriage is nothing like slavery. He finds her some clothes to wear and she asks whose they are. He explains that they belonged to his sister, who passed away a year earlier. Her husband, Paul, had lived on the farm with Michael but is currently away in another city. That evening, when Angel tries to stand, her legs give out beneath her. Michael catches her, and from that moment on, he cares for her with unwavering gentleness. For 3 full weeks he tends to her, sitting beside her through her lowest points, making sure she eats and rests and slowly heals. One evening, as Angel begins to recover, She calls him closer and makes clear what she means to offer him in return for everything he has done. But Michael gently refuses. He tells her he did not rescue her because he wanted something in return. What he carries for her in his heart, he says, is not something that can be satisfied through obligation. He wants her to feel for him what he feels for her. Until that day comes, he will wait. The next morning Angel walks out to the farm where Michael is already at work and tells him plainly that she may not be able to fulfill the traditional duties of a wife. But while she is here, she would like to help him on the farm. Michael accepts immediately and begins showing her everything. How to gather eggs, how to raise chickens, how to fish at the edge of the water. Something shifts in Angel as she learns each task. The simplicity of farm life, the rhythm of it, the quiet beauty of it, starts to fill a part of her that has been empty for years. One night Michael comes to wake her and asks her to come with him. She protests. It is nearly morning, and she does not understand where he could possibly be taking her at this hour. He leads her to the top of a nearby hill, and together they watch the sunrise, colors pouring across the sky like something out of a painting. Michael turns to her and says he wants to give her life as full of color as that sunrise. Moved beyond what she expected, Angel quietly admits that if he knew even half of what her life had truly looked like, he would despise her. Michael replies simply that she did not choose the life she was given, but she now has the power to choose the life ahead of her. Angel looks at him and confesses that she still cannot fully understand why she is here, why he treats her like his wife and yet never comes close to her. He tells her he has been waiting for the day she feels for him what he has felt for her since the very first moment he saw her. Something breaks open inside Angel. She leans forward and kisses him. They return home together, and that night they finally share a moment that is tender, genuine, and entirely their own. The following morning brings an unexpected visitor. Michael's brother-in-law Paul returns to the farm after a long absence. Michael welcomes him warmly and tells him with obvious joy that he has gotten married, then brings him inside to meet Angel. The moment Paul lays eyes on her, recognition crosses his face. He says nothing in that moment. But when Michael steps away, Paul confronts Angel in private. He tells her bluntly that he knows exactly who she is and what she used to do for a living. He tells her Michael's a good man and deserves someone better. Angel meets his eyes steadily and responds that Michael came to her of his own free will, knowing everything, and chose her anyway. She asks Paul to do the same. Paul refuses to accept this and goes directly to Michael. He begins speaking disparagingly about Angel, calling her unfit and inappropriate. Michael punches him without hesitation and tells him plainly, if Paul considers Michael a brother, then he must consider Angel a sister, and that is the end of it. Paul, realizing he has overstepped, quietly apologizes to Angel and even suggests that if she ever wants to move to the city, start fresh and build her own business, she could do well for herself. Angel listens but says nothing in return. Later, Michael and Angel spend a quiet evening together. He tells her that he has shared everything with Paul, every detail of how they met and what grew between them. He then tells her that he wants to spend the rest of his life with her. He wants them to have children and grow old together, surrounded by the kind of happiness that neither of them has ever truly known. But those words do not land the way Michael intended. A shadow falls over Angel's face. The truth she has been carrying like a stone finally rises to the surface. Duke had once forced her to undergo an operation after she became pregnant, a procedure that ensured she could never become a mother again. She cannot give Michael the family he is dreaming of. She says nothing in that moment, but the grief of it sits heavy between them. One afternoon, while they are walking along the road, they come across a family, a husband, a pregnant woman named Elizabeth, and their older daughter Miriam. The family has no home of their own and is trying to make their way to a new place. Michael and Angel invite them in without a second thought, offering food, warmth, and shelter. Miriam and Angel quickly form a close bond. Miriam asks Angel about her life and how she and Michael found each other, and Angel opens up in a way she rarely does. As the weeks pass, Elizabeth gives birth to a son, and the joy it brings fills the entire house. Michael and Miriam fuss over the newborn together, and Angel watches them. Something in her begins to quietly believe that Michael and Miriam belong together. That Miriam, young and full of possibility, could give Michael everything that Angel cannot. Some time passes, and Miriam, his father, announces that he has bought land from Paul, and the whole family will now settle nearby. One day, while Michael and Angel are working side by side in the field, Angel casually mentions how well Michael and Miriam seem to get along, how well suited they appear to be. Michael stops what he is doing and looks at her. He tells her plainly and without hesitation that he loves only her, that nothing and no one can come between them. Angel then takes a slow breath and tells him the truth, the full truth, about what Duke did to her and why she can never carry a child. Michael listens without flinching. When she finishes, he simply tells her that none of what was done to her changes how he feels. He loves her, all of her, every wound and every scar. He holds her close and whispers, "Never lose hope," because life has a way of surprising people when they least expect it. But deep in Angel's heart, a quiet grief has already taken root. She cannot shake the feeling that she is standing in the way of the life Michael truly deserves. That evening over dinner, Angel asks Michael to take her back to the hilltop where they watched the sunrise. He agrees, and they go together to watch the sunset this time. The sky burns gold and rose above them, and in that beautiful, fleeting light, they share one final intimate evening, tender and bittersweet, though only Angel knows it is a farewell. The next morning, before anyone stirs, Angel rises early. She writes a letter addressed to Miriam, tucks Michael's ring inside the envelope, and quietly leaves the farm with a man she has arranged to travel with into the city. When Miriam wakes and finds the letter, she reads Angel's words, that she believes Michael and Miriam could build a beautiful life together and deserve every happiness. Miriam takes the letter directly to Michael and urges him to go after Angel immediately. Michael reads the words in silence. Then he folds the letter, looks up, and says that he has done everything in his power to make her feel how much he loves her. Now it is her life. And the choice to return, or not, belongs entirely to her. Angel arrives in the city and finds the hotel owner willing to give her work as a cook in exchange for a place to stay. She accepts gratefully and begins her new life. But that same day, one of Duke's men spots her working there. That night, the hotel burns to the ground in a fire that consumes everything. The next morning, Angel stands among the charred ruins and picks through the remains when a familiar shadow falls over her. Duke stands before her, the same man who had stolen her childhood, forced her into a life she never chose, and murdered anyone who tried to help her. He looks at her with that same cold authority and tells her to come with him. Angel looks him dead in the eye and tells him he has no power over her anymore. Duke smiles slowly and informs her that he was the one who set the hotel on fire last night. And if she does not comply, the hotel owner will be next. Faced with no way out that would leave an innocent man alive, Angel reluctantly goes with him. But when she arrives at Duke's establishment and sees two terrified young girls being forced to work just as she once had been, something inside her snaps permanently. She confronts Duke with fury, asking whether grown women have become too much trouble for him that he now tortures little children. Duke threatens her without a shred of remorse if she tries to resist or escape. She will not live to regret it. And then he announces that he intends to parade her on stage in front of a crowd as part of his business showcase. For the first time in her life, Angel bows her head and prays. She whispers to whatever god might be listening that if he is real, she needs his help now. She needs the strength to speak the truth and save these girls. When Duke pushes her out onto the stage and presents her to the audience, Angel does not perform. She straightens her back and speaks. She tells everyone what Duke is, what he does to young women and girls, how he destroys them, how he destroyed her. She shares her own story without flinching. Duke lunges forward, shouting that she is lying, and drags her forcibly off the stage into a back room. He intends to kill her. But in that moment, one of his own men, a man who has quietly despised Duke's cruelty for a long time, steps forward and knocks Duke to the ground. He turns to Angel and whispers one word: run. Angel does not hesitate. She bolts to the room where the two young girls are held, takes them by the hand, and runs. Outside, the crowd that witnessed Angel's testimony has turned. People who had come as clients now know the truth, and the truth has made them furious. When Duke tries to flee, the mob closes in round him. He is caught and in the raw, collective anger of that crowd. Justice is carried out on the spot. Duke is hanged. 3 years pass. Paul, now living in another city, is walking through the streets when he notices a figure ahead of him that he recognizes instantly. He follows her to a large school building and goes inside. He finds Angel and stares at what she has built around herself. She stands in the middle of a bright, busy school, a place she created specifically for women like her, women who have survived the worst and deserve a second chance, a real education and a new beginning. Paul is overwhelmed. He asks about Michael and Miriam. Angel listens quietly as Paul tells her that Miriam is actually his wife now, and that she is expecting their first child. She had always believed, or perhaps hoped, that Michael and Miriam would find each other. But Paul shakes his head. Michael never saw Miriam as anything other than a friend. He has been working his fields alone, waiting, just as he always said he would. Paul tells Angel he is leaving at 4 in the afternoon, and that she is welcome to come with him if she chooses. She says nothing right away, but something shifts behind her eyes. Back at the farm, Michael is in the fields when he looks up and sees a figure walking toward him along the dusty path. He goes still. She stops just in front of him, and for the first time in all the years they have known each other, she tells him her real name. Not Angel, Sarah. She has never told anyone before. She tells him she came back to say that she loves him. She asks him to forgive her for every moment of pain she caused him, for leaving, for all the hardship her fear and doubt put him through. Michael looks at her, the same steady warmth in his eyes that has always been there, and tells her that every one of those hardships was worth it, because they led to this exact moment. He reaches into his pocket and produces his mother's ring, the same ring he has kept safe all these years, and he places it in her hand. He smiles and says, "Welcome to my life." They hold each other, and for the first time, both of them are completely at peace. A few more years pass. Michael is sitting by the lake one lazy afternoon, fishing rod in hand, the water glittering in the afternoon sun. He hears footsteps and looks up. Angel, Sarah, is walking toward him, visibly pregnant, her eyes soft and full. Beside her, a small boy runs ahead along the bank, laughing at nothing in particular and everything all at once. The family is whole. The healing is complete, and the life that once seemed impossible has quietly, beautifully become real.